Hey, what's up, everybody? Well, I hope my teeth aren't dirty because we just ate and I'm finding a moment. And unfortunately, the air is on. But if I wait for it to go off, I'll wait. Well, I won't have much time because it's almost always on. So, what I would like to talk about in here, real quickly, is an unboxing of something that should make my world complete. Okay, remember my Oodle babies, Oodles, LJN, that I talked about almost a year ago, I think. I think that's what it was. And what they were just a late 80s series that I've gone back to mentally of babies, baby dolls. 48. They were numbered 1 through 48. 4 dozen sets. Started in 86. And by the way, not all of them are Oodles. You know, they had other companies that came along and made similar 2-inch babies with similar bodies, except they didn't have the little curly Q thing on top. You know, and they didn't have all the things that made Oodles special. But in 1986, when I was just 3 years old, they were invented, or, you know, designed, I guess, by Milburn Krantz. And, you know, just a series of dolls. And they were made as charms. They could be dolls, or they could be charms to wear on a necklace, because they had a curly Q on their head. Their hair was like a dip comb. Though I would not trust that, you know, because it could break. And then you destroy your doll and lose it. Well, basically, as I've stated before, it was just like 48 different, like one baby, okay? Let's face it, it's the same baby. It was like he drew one simplistic baby. And keep in mind, this is before Rugrats existed. One cute, simplistic cartoon baby was drawn in 48 different positions, doing different things. And the first dozen were very simplistic, made without accessories. And they were your coochie coodles, as silly as that sounds. And then as they went along, you know, like you had your peekaboodles, I think was the next dozen. That's what I'm going to talk about. Rockabye boodles and curly Q-oodles. I mean, they all had curly Q's, so what made them special? So, Oodles babies, LJN. And I've talked about this before, how it was 4 dozen, but each dozen was very similar in the way that you had mostly white babies, or you only had 2 shades of brown. You had, let's see, this darker brown and a moderately brown. So you only had 2 shades of brown, 1 deeper shade of white, like with a tan, but then 3 out of each 6, number 1, 2, 3, would be the whitest of white babies, making them appear majority white. But you'd always have like 2 black babies, 2 brown babies, and 2 tan babies, I call them. Tan or ruddy. And even more unfortunate than that, though, although these babies, like, they all look the same, let's face it, same hair, same eyes, same naked body, which is my least favorite thing about them. They're naked, but they're difficult to clothe, you know, because their hands are fused to their body. Their limbs are fused to their body, so you can't really make most of them any clothes, not even a diaper. But what's even more unfortunate was that the stupid men or man who made these dolls saw them as majority feminine. And I've talked about how stupid that is a year ago. Most of these babies were given female identities and names. And what's silly is it's like they'd have a normal common name at the time with the word Oodle attached somehow to the name. Like Karen Oodle, Dan Oodley, Dave Oodle. The first one was Meg Oodlin instead of Megan. Scott Oodle, that's pretty obvious, Scott plus Oodle. You know, Michael Oodle, you know, just a name plus Oodle somewhere. And they had a silly write-up on the back of a little card, like a trading card, with a picture of the baby on it and the number. And the color of the border was either pink or blue, depending on the gender. And as I've stated, unfortunately, 2/3 were girls. They only had, like, I don't know, one black boy, one brown boy, one tan boy, and one white boy in each series. So in a dozen, you'd have 4 boys and 8 girls. So that 2/3 were given female identities for no real reason in my mind, other than maybe their accessory was pink instead of blue, or a neutral color. So I thought that was silly. You know, that's the only thing I really hate about the dolls. You can't make clothes for them. And they're given unnecessary female identities in many cases that don't make any sense. I mean, should some of them be female? Yes. Should 6 out of a dozen be female? Probably yes. But should 8 out of a dozen be female? No. No, absolutely no reason that, like, I have to call this doll a girl just because they decided to name her Laura Oodle, meaning Laura, instead of, you know, what I would prefer, like the one named Brend Oodle. I always hated it because the one named Brend Oodle should have been Brend Oodlin. You know, I think they intended Brenda, but I prefer Brendan or Brandon. The one drinking out of the turquoise bottle was considered a girl. Now there's Dave Oodle holding the blue bottle. But the one drinking out of the turquoise bottle was Brend Oodle. Now I've always thought that one should have been a boy, because you know how much I love the name Brendan or Brandon. Brandon means little prince, and Brandon means from the lighted hill. I just love the BR sound for a boy's name. So yeah, there's no logical reason. I mean, I can see why Tiffany's a girl, why Karen is a girl, why Marissa is a girl, and Mark is a boy, Dave is a boy. But there's no logical reason why this has to be Laura and female. And with the Coochie Koodles, I mean, they didn't have any accessories, so it's like, why did 8 of them have to be girls? What about them was a girl? What about them is feminine when they don't have any accessories? And I thought it was odd they made the crying baby Scott a boy. Probably for the irony, you know, a boy crying. So yeah, that's the only thing I really don't like is the ratio, you know, and the stupid write-up. It would have the word Oodle, like as every other word. And for whatever reason, they seem to have omitted October as a possible birth month. I don't know why. Maybe because they'd had to call it Oodle October, you know. But I love October. So if I want one of them to be born in October, you know, instead of having multiple babies, you know, born in other months, then I should have the right to change it to what I want it to be. And so the original two that I had, I was given Dave Oodle when I was 5 and Karen Oodle when I was 9. And I'll show you those. Just recently I got a package, and I mean, if they wouldn't have happened to be selling exactly those two and given me a low offer, for all I know, they may have known who I am and did that. Karen and Dave. I think she's like number 20, is it? Dave was unlucky number 13. And his birthday was March 16th, and hers was like January 20th. The other thing is they have conflicting info about their birthdays on different cards. So if I want to imagine them to have different birthdays and make my own cards, I should have the right to do that. And it was number 19 I was telling you about. Doodle, the girl, you know, with the turquoise bottle. Let's see, this is Marissa. This one's supposed to be called Laura, but you know I don't like that name, Laura. And this one's Tiffany. And that one I think is Julie or something. But I don't really like that name, Julie, for the black baby, because we already have a Jennifer. So if I want to change it to a letter that is otherwise unused, I should have the right to do that. So yeah, that's my Oodles babies. And I used to have these, but I destroyed them as a child. See, that's what I mean. Children don't appreciate dolls. I tried to draw clothes on them with permanent marker, and it messed them up, so that my mom threw them away. So finally, I'm reunited with Karen and Dave all these decades later, and I'll go ahead and post this video.